Mueller.
Here.
White.
Here.
Schrader.
Here.
Hinderman here. Pohl.
Here.
Bowden.
Here.
Andrews.
Here.
All present.
Aaron, proof of giving public meeting notice?
Yep, notices are posted at both schools, sent to Village of Dickeyville and Cuba City Hall and members of the media. So on Monday, August 14th, 2023.
Item 3 is the consideration of the consent agenda. Are there any items A through H that you would like pulled for discussion? Hearing silence, would someone move?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Mueller.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl.
Yes.
Bowden.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We're down to administrative reports, and we'll start with Deb and special ed.
There's been a lot of staff movement this summer. Mr. Sander, Mr. Kraus, and I have conducted interviews with Heather and have filled nearly all of the vacant special ed positions. There were some interviews today. We have two remaining positions that we need to fill.
They are,
One is a full-time assistant and one is a part-time driving position. We do have one more applicant, actually a couple we might consider yet. So we're not closing it yet. And a couple in the works from today as well that might be our candidates. Yeah, so surprisingly, yeah, we had a lot of interest. The Win Academy handbook has been drafted and is ready for board approval tonight. Thank you to Krista Knapp, who spent a great deal of time this summer exploring best practices and creating this handbook. On the 8th of August, nonviolent crisis intervention training was provided to all of the new special ed staff and all of the teaching assistants. This training is offered annually and requires, it is a requirement of all of our teaching assistants. Students attending Project Search in Platteville will begin Tuesday, September 5th. We've had several students attend this successfully and complete the program over the past quite a few years now. We didn't have one last year, but we did have quite a few kids go in the last maybe 3 or 4 years. And Project Search is a transition to work program, which is a business-led 1-year employment preparation program that takes place entirely at UW-Platteville, where the students are supported with a brief period of instruction followed by rotation of work site placements on or off campus, things like office cleaning, mail sorting, cafeteria work, and that kind of thing. And that's all I have.
any questions from Deb?
Are all admin also trained in nonviolent crisis intervention?
I did training last year, I didn't do it this year.
I have been trained several
I just
times.
wanted to make sure.
I was not in the training.
I was a trainer of trainees at one point in time.
But everyone's up to date. They can do it tomorrow if something happens.
Probably not.
Not Heather.
And I don't think that's a legal requirement that all administration has to be.
I didn't say it was legal. I was just
I'm just
asking.
saying, just
But we've all been.
informing you.
Okay. Troy, elementary.
School's off and running. We had rain on Monday to test our new roof, a lot of rain. It worked well, I guess, no leaks. Parking lot is a work in progress. First day was a little rough, but I do feel the last couple of days have gotten a little bit better. And the parents have been gracious and understanding that it's going to take a little time. But we've had a lot of compliments on the crosswalk and the island, and parents do feel it's a lot safer, which was our major goal. Staff has been a great job of giving the kids a great day of school each of these first 3 days. I mean, we've had some bumps, obviously, along the way, but the students wouldn't know, and that's because of our staff. Really doing a great job of providing the students what they need. So it's off to a good start. I mean, it really is. Big thank you to Southwest Health, Linus Club, Linda Brandt, and Dawn Haverland for donations of school supplies. We were able to stuff over 12 backpacks to help out where needed. The Lions Club will be conducting vision screening for students in grades K through 3 on this Friday 18th. Take them in advance. Homework Club will begin Tuesday, September 5th. Takes place on Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 3:20 to 4:45. It allows students to get help after school with their homework. Parents may sign their children up by contacting the office or completing the registration form. Cuban Care will begin Friday, August 25th. Cuban Care runs until 3:30 on our early release Fridays. Parents can complete the Cuban Care form in the Cuban Communicator. And Friday, August 18th is our picture day. So it's always kind of neat to see everybody dressed up. And we just hope that they stay clean until they get their picture taken. But again, if you haven't gotten your envelope, what you should have, you can contact the office for assistance. That's it.
That's K-12. We're doing, everybody has pictures of that.
Any questions of Troy? Ready. Chris?
All right, we are also off and running, and as you can see, sharing. Ms. Clayton shared that the high school band completed their annual marching band camp. It was on August 1st and 2nd. Students met both days from 8 to 12:30. They rehearsed music for the homecoming field show, learned basic marching skills on the practice football field, and competed in team building activities. They are working on various songs from the rock band Queen this year. Mr. Clayton shared that the middle school also completed their band camp on August 3rd and 4th. 7th and 8th grade students are preparing for their marching season. Miss Van Scandal's students had another successful sweet corn season, and it was delicious. There were several students that showed animals at the Wisconsin State Fair. Dairy exhibitors included Peyton Calvert, Morgan and Peyton Van Scandal, John and Katie Wackershauser. Sheep exhibitors included Morgan and Peyton Van Scandal and Brandon Coulthard. Swine exhibitor was Karina Pitson. Beef exhibitor was Ava Leibfried. And Grant County Fair began this week, and I'm sure that the Cuba City School will be well represented. We had staff back for in-service last week. We began the week with a wonderful presentation by Mr. Don Marlette from Learning Focused on instructional frameworks, and ended the week with a very successful freshman and very first time sixth grade orientation and open house. And I want to thank all of our staff for making those both happen. Congratulations goes out again to our Cuba City girls volleyball team, as they were the recipients of the 2023 U.S. Marine Corps and AVCA Team Academic Award. It's awarded to programs that have a team GPA average of 3.3 or higher for the entire school year. So congratulations to Coach Lawson and her team for earning this achievement. We would like to welcome Mr. Austin Simons as our new high school business education teacher. And finally, I would like to thank Travis Loomis and his crew for working their tails off this summer and making our facilities look amazing in a very short amount of time.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions? Other business report, please.
So the audit firm was in last week to conduct our annual district audit. Overall, it went well. This week, I'm just working on completing journal entries and other tying up some other loose ends. And I hope to have their draft audit report in the next month or so. And then that's something that Aaron and I review, and then they'll issue their final report. Update on Fund 49, our referendum account. In the month of July, we had total revenue of $616,337.61. Our expenses were $486,580.40, and our balance at the end of July was $260,300.43. As Deb mentioned, I've been participating in interviews for all of our open positions. And then I'm hoping in the next week to start working on the 23-24 budget, in particular, all the personnel budget line items, since we've had quite a bit of movement in that area. And as we're finalizing positions, that's changing some of our numbers. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions of Heather? Aaron, superintendent report.
Yep, as we get closer to October 15th, we have some budget updates. Last month, we talked about some of the revenue limits, 325 more per student, which we haven't had in the last couple of years. Gary mentioned the low revenue ceiling. While that doesn't impact us, that only impacts schools that spend between 10 and 11,000 per student, and we're just north of that. Gary did mention that if you're in that category, you ran for an operational referendum and it failed, and you were spending $10,200 per kid, you're stuck there for 3 years. While this doesn't impact us, we ran an operational referendum and it passed, and we're just above that low revenue ceiling, it is kind of a scary thing that to find in the budget. General equalized aid, as our property is valued higher, we just found out today that the Cuba City School District, the estimate that comes out, we don't know until October 15th. The estimate says that our evaluation is going to go up about 9.2%. What that means is our community, if you add up all the property value, last year would have been 431 million. This year, that's going to be closer to 470 million. Just for reference, in 2017-18, so this was 6 years ago, it was 332 million. So it's gone up a lot. So that increase of 40 million is due to new residential buildings. It could be new businesses. Also, property is just worth more now than it was 2 years ago. So we'll see that for a second year in a row. What that does is when everybody's property is worth more, even though we might lower the mill rate, which is the percent that they get taxed, that school tax line item, even if we work hard to try to make sure that we lower that mill rate, the school tax may still go up. And what we found last year, and this has been the last few years, is one municipality will call and say, hey, our taxes went up 20%, the school tax went up 20%. And then we look at one municipality went down 9%. And so that's the really confusing part. And so just wanted to give you guys a little preemptive notice that, that does happen every year. And it's because all we do is we set that mill rate. We say we're going to tax this much. Then we send that to the state distributes it to the county, and then the county determines which municipality funds which part of that, and they're always different. So even though we set a mill rate for our community, that really doesn't mean that we set the property tax. That's just one piece of the puzzle. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. For those of you who read, and one reason I brought this up, if you read the Telegraph Herald on Saturday, the new foundry outside Dickeyville is expected to be valued at over $100 million. So this year we're expecting the total value of the village of Dickeyville to be around $80–85 million. And they're going to have that foundry, and they expect that will more than double that. So what that means, it doesn't mean that the Cuba City School District gets a lot more money. Because I've had a lot of people come up and tell me, that's great for the school. It is great for the school, and it's great for the entire community in that when the assessed value goes up a lot, the tax that everybody pays is more distributed at a lower amount. So it doesn't mean that schools get any more money. Really, there's only a few ways schools get more money, and it's per pupil if they change the special ed category. But what that means is now, if we were going to say, okay, the mill rate was $10.50, now if it goes up $100 million, now we might be able to say, okay, now it's going to be closer to $9.50 or $9.20 or whatever that random number may be. So special thanks to the Village Board of Dickeyville. I know put a lot of time in that. Village President Matt Gattenbein, I know Jeff Kaiser was involved in it as well. So a lot of people involved there that made this happen. That's great for the future of the Cuba City School District. We certainly appreciate that work. Some other items, sparsity aid increased a little bit this year. That's provided for small school districts that have fewer than 10 members per square mile, and you have to have fewer than 745 kids. So like for this whole state, for all of us that get sparsity aid, it went up $800,000, but that's split up between a lot of schools. So that was a small amount. Some minor increases in transportation aid. Just so everybody knows, our transportation aid covers about 9 or 10% of our transportation budget. So transportation, we don't get a lot for transportation aid, so it went up minimally. And then, as always, a big aspect for us, and has been directive from the board since I've been here, is to make sure that we're positive in open enrollment in that program. So last year, open enrollment, we had a total of 119 students open enrolled in. We had 66 students open enroll out for a plus of 53 students. And again, back in 17-18, we were -8. So again, that's very good financially for the books in that area. Small increase in open enrollment students, a couple $100 per student. So that's my update on the state budget.
Any questions of Aaron?
Aaron, that foundry that you spoke of, that's in a TIF or a TID?
That's in a TIF. I believe it's a TID. So I believe it's a 10-year, but it's often they'll set it for 10 years and then they'll push it off a little bit later. But yeah, that's in a 10-year TID as of right now. And I think there's a couple of those in Dickeyville. We have a few of them in Cuba City, so there's a schedule. So what that means is when they're not counted they're not paying those property taxes, and we're not seeing that until the end of that time period. At the end of that time period, it impacts it a lot. Like you guys have probably heard of Epic in Verona. When their TID came off, they were able to build a $100 million school, and the impact of the mill rate was 3 cents less than it was the year before because of the assessed value for those buildings. And if you've driven by Epic, you know that's a different type of building.
They often say that if you're property rich, don't you get like your aid is less or something. I can't recall what there was a property rich and something else. I can't recall exactly what the term they used, but
Yeah, aid poor, property rich aid poor. So like schools up in Door County, when there are state cuts in funding, they don't feel them because they get so much from the property tax that they don't get a lot from the state. And then there are some schools that rely so much on the state because their property isn't valued very much that it impacts them a lot, which is you hear about the inequities in state funding. That's one of them.
any questions of Aaron? Okay, thank you. Public recognition.
Sarah here.
Sarah?
Hello, I just want to come to you as a parent tonight, more so than a teacher. I really want to give some recognition to this person right here in regards to busing. Because when
She didn't know it was coming.
she didn't know it was coming.
I might get you later.
Yeah. We got a new busing company this year, and of course it's a learning curve. And I know my kid was on the bus a long time on Monday night. And when I drove by school, Jessie's van is always there. She puts in countless hours trying to get these kids home safely. And I just want you all to recognize that.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
May I,
One of those at every meeting.
may I ask, has the issues been improved?
It was only one night for me that it was late. The other 2 nights were good.
The first couple of days came with their learning bumps, as every new process company does. Today felt really good, and I checked my emails prior to the meeting, and it looked good. So I think it's roads going
They
up.
seem to be responsive.
Very.
If there's a problem, they want to fix it right
Very.
away, which is really good.
Yep. So first couple of days, just a little hectic, but you know what? Today I felt much better today, and I think it's gonna be good.
Well, I was
She's
gonna
an
say,
asset.
I shared that, and had it confirmed that the busing company used a computer program to map out the routes. Then somebody shared that, well, you know, that happened in Kentucky and the kids didn't get home till 10 o'clock at night.
Oh. Well, our kids have definitely gotten home before 10 o'clock at
We
night,
have
I
better
promise you.
software
So yeah, no, it's been good. It's been a little hectic, like I said, but arrows point up.
All right,
They
thank you.
closed that school for 2 days after that.
Yeah. We won't send you to Kentucky to fix their problem.
Thank you.
All right, new business, approve the date and time for the September regular board meeting. I won't be here, but you can have it without me.
Anybody else not going to be here in September? So we'll keep it.
All righty. Moving on to B, approve the date and time of the 2024 senior class overnight trip.
Yep, usually they go to Great America. This group did a lot of extra fundraising. They are going to the Kalahari, which is a little more expensive, but they were really excited about that. They'll leave one night and come back the next day, but they'll spend some time in the water parks and have fun. And because it's overnight, then we've got to bring it to the board.
If there's no questions, would somebody move?
I'll move to approve the date and time for the class of 2024 senior trip as presented.
Second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes, Poole,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item C is approve the environmental branding proposal from Bray Architects.
Yep, this is a proposal that has core planning team approval. There are two parts of this. The first is do the interior decorating for all spaces. So generally they'll say, yep, this wall is going to be white. The environmental branding will look at all those walls and say, okay, here's where we can insert this certain color or this Cuban reference. It's basically interior decorator for all those pieces. So it's not just blank walls. That's the first part. And they also are going to be selecting all the furniture so that it's consistent throughout the building. It's hodgepodged. And then the second part of that is the smaller one is to work with us on getting all the aspects of the mascot and or logo ironed out. And then they want to use that with the environmental branding as well.
Questions for it?
How's the mascot coming?
We shared with our with our architects and our designers what we wanted. And they're like, we were kind of hoping you'd tell us, like, we want to go with the Cuban Cubs, like, and you'd give us something and then we'd do it. And I said, yep, I know.
Yeah.
I said, this is what our community wants and we want to see some options. So we're open to some ideas, and they have a couple ideas that they're working on currently. So when they have those, what we'll do is we'll reconvene with the community group and we'll just go through them and hopefully kind of have that group, right, here's our top two or whatever, and then we'll bring it to you guys for formal approval.
There was a deadline or need, wasn't it, for Bray to have this wrapped up?
The need was like in January, the want was a lot earlier than that.
Like
So I'm not
tomorrow.
feeling the rush that
Okay.
they'll tell us in the meeting.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I know when you want it, but when do you need it,
Okay.
it wasn't in January.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Is there a motion to accept that?
I'll move.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll move to approve the environmental branding proposal from Bray Architects as presented.
I'll
Sure.
second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes, Poole,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item D is approve the WIN student parent handbook.
Yeah, we finally have the Win Academy trailer on site that a lot of you probably saw when you parked out front, just north of the middle school. Plan on this being a temporary location for the program right now. This handbook is brand new, gone through the draft with Ms. Langer, went through with board member Mueller as well after school. There might be some changes that we make just in the editing. So like this font and that font, just to make it set. But I recommend that we approve it as is right now.
If there's no questions, would someone move?
I'll move to approve the WIN Student Parent Handbook as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes, Poole,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And on to personnel here. A is approve the hiring of Joanne Jansen as a new paraprofessional.
Yep, this is a position that was created by adding the WIN program, and this is one of the pairs.
If there's no questions, would someone move?
I'll move to approve the hiring of Joanne Jansen as new paraprofessional as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes, Poole,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item B is approve the hiring of Andrea Ackerman as the new 4K teacher at the elementary school.
Yep, at one of our last special meetings, we approved the posting of a 4K position. Andrea was our top candidate, and we believe she's going to do a wonderful job here.
If there's no questions, I need a motion, please.
I'll move to approve the hiring of Andrea Ackerman as the new 4K teacher at CCES as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes, Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item C is approve the hiring of Austin Simmons as the new high school business teacher.
Yep, this position was vacated when Mrs. Joel resigned. Mr. Simmons is a Cuba City High School graduate and resident in our district. And this position was posted. He applied, interviewed, and was offered the position because he's currently under contract from Southwestern as of tonight, and they have their meeting tonight as well. He is unable to work for us full-time until they release him from the contract, which I believe they're probably doing at this time, or I hope that they're doing it this time. So when we make the motion, it will say contingent on the contractual release of his Southwestern School District contract.
Thank you. Somebody care to move that?
It's Mr. Simons.
Simon, sorry.
Simons.
Simon, did I say Simmons?
I said that too, so. yep.
I'll move to approve the hiring of Austin Simons as the new CCHS business teacher contingent on the contractual release from his Southwestern School District contract as presented.
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes, Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item D, we are omitting because the person has taken a different job. Item E is approve Mason Kirshen as an assistant high school football coach.
Yeah, Mason is a Cuba City High School graduate, and we're excited to have him work with our kids.
I will move to approve the hiring of Mason Kirshen as an assistant high school football coach as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes, Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
motion carried.
F is approve Megan Rogerman as assistant high school volleyball coach.
Megan is currently our head volleyball coach and a teacher at the high school, and we're very fortunate that she's willing to help out and be assistant volleyball coach this year.
You mean high school softball?
I'm sorry, high school, I think she's currently high school softball. Now she's gonna be volleyball.
I will make that motion to approve the hiring of Megan Rogerman as assistant high school volleyball coach as presented. Is there a second?
I will second. Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes, Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
motion carried.
G is approve Aaron Kaiser as a volunteer high school football coach. Would someone move?
I'll move to approve the hiring of Aaron Kaiser as a volunteer CCHS football coach as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'm gonna give it to Sarah.
Yep, it's her turn.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes, Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
motion carried.
We're down to committee reports, budget and finances, or anything?
We'll have another one here soon after we meet probably with our financial advisors at Robert W. Baird.
So probably in September.
Okay. Building and grounds, Chuck, you want to give us a kind of an update, what's going on out there, and Aaron chime in?
Well, we're just working on the core meeting for the building and trying to get our empty slots filled, and it's fun. It's hard.
Yep.
It's small, you know.
I don't think we have anything on the books for another building grounds meeting yet.
The building project that or Chuck is referring to has been fun. Every 2 weeks
Yeah.
we've met, and I mean, we've had a chance to discuss everything, I think, from the walls, floors, and ceilings to the colors and the do this, don't do this, and the cost of that, and whatever else. So it's been a fun project, and to see, as you did a month or two ago, what it might look like when it's done has really put a new, making it fun.
Aaron, sometime Ray's gonna bring it for the full board, correct?
Yeah.
Fairly quick, or are we a ways away yet?
I think they were gonna wait until they had all the
Aesthetics?
equipment in the tech ed and ag group. I think that was all that they were waiting. I think everything else
Yeah.
is done. Right now, they just had big white boxes, and they're gonna
Right.
try to
Yeah.
make
Figure
that
out what
happen.
Okay, I just wondered.
Yep.
Thank you.
And thank you to staff and everything for going back to school. well before your summer normally is over. So hopefully we can put all that to use next spring, and hopefully they can get a lot done even this fall and winter to make sure that, the project, it goes off, with as little, if any, involvement in bothering school next year. So we're kind of excited that, they originally weren't going to do any of the gym or building when we met 2 or 3 months ago, to think that they can actually get some of that going. So,
And a big part of that too, and I didn't know this until we were in that meeting, the advantage of getting the gym box up, and when they say gym box, it's just the walls and the ceiling, and they can get some of that stuff done. Once you set that concrete, you have to let that cure, and it has to be a certain type of weather, but you've got to let that cure for 90 days before you put anything on top of that. And so if we didn't have that up when we were building the gym box in April or May, it would be really tough to see anything in there until December or January. So this is going to speed up that process.
No, I think Epic's pushing it along very well.
Personnel, Aaron?
Yep, we're going to start the collective bargaining agreements and that process with our CCEA soon. We're trying to find some dates right now, either in September or October, that work for both groups, but that will be part of the personnel committee.
Okay. Policy, it looks like you
Usually every October we'll get an update from Neola.
Okay. Technology, transportation, anything?
I think in September, what I want to do is have a transportation committee, but I want to have it at Davis Bus Lines with that group. So we can just see them, and they can tell you a little bit about that. We just get to see where they're set up and how they're working.
Foundation, any report on that meeting?
Yeah, we made it on the second. That went very well. We made a few adjustments. But so far, it's
It
been
was
okay.
a lot better meeting than when you're looking at stocks and bonds and things. It was a lot better than our January or February meeting. That's just how it goes. It was the numbers are a lot better now than they were 6 months ago.
Rather than curve.
Yeah.
And we moved some stuff around to, protect it.
Yeah.
So let's go. They're doing good. So Dan, he was busy.
Thank you, Chuck. CISA 3, I went to the meeting a week or 10 days ago, and obviously they had the annual meeting, so I got to meet a school board member from all of the 31 school districts, so that was kind of neat to talk to Southwestern and Benton and whomever else, so, and to hear everything that they're doing. So we'll kind of leave it at that, and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Actually, good.
Yeah.
It's like 33 minutes.
That was better.
We'll take it.